Welcome back, everyone, to the Flyin podcast. I am here tonight with Zach talking about our 1 year anniversary, Zach.
Ooh.
I think it's been a little over a year now by maybe about a week, but 1 year in the books. We want to say thanks to everyone for listening, for subscribing, for following us on all of our platforms. We got a lot of cool ideas coming up here soon, whether that be kind of in-person interviews, more content or live type recordings, maybe even some in-person type stuff. And we have some guests lined up here too that we're excited to share with you guys. Just real quickly, some stats that I think Sam had put down, which has been kind of cool to track. We want to say thanks to our over 650 followers slash subscribers on all platforms, and the over 8,000 plays and views that we've had on our podcast. So again, just unbelievable. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate it. It's been awesome to be able to just share kind of what we enjoy, and that's FC Cincinnati. So Zach, this week was a little bit up and down. Started off so high, but how are we feeling?
It's been a doozy. I'll tell you what. I mean, you got Memorial Day weekend. We're traveling to Canada, come home, midweek game. I'm glad nobody had issues with any, visa issues, but we always tend to have that problem on this team. But yeah, I mean, midweek game, against usually a pretty good matchup with Nashville. Obviously, we couldn't keep our streak going, but it looked like a team that was on their last leg, right? Just tired legs. We're really stretching to get through that international break.
Yeah, I think we were gassed. I think just like everyone else, like coming off of such a emotional like weekend game, and this back and forth game that we had probably plays into this, and just the minutes that some guys have kind of racked up. So we'll get into a little bit of this Toronto game because we didn't really get to do a recap. So at least that'll be a little bit of a high for us, Zach. But then talk a little bit about the Nashville game and kind of what our thoughts are and how we kind of turn this around and move forward. We have, I think, about a 16-day break until our next game away at San Jose. So we'll touch on both those games. We'll, in the second half, get into a little bit of FCC 2 news, some possible transfer rumors that we've been kind of hearing grumbles about a little bit. And then, from there, I think we'll just have an open discussion about, the team in the first half of this season, because I think we're just about at that halfway mark. So we'll get into it here for match day 15. Like Zach mentioned, over the weekend, we went up to Toronto and had a nice 4-3 win. At the time, that put us 10-2-3 overall, which at that point was just unbelievable that we had a 7-game win streak going on, with this win. So Zach, I'm going to let you kind of give me your thoughts on the game, what you thought in watching it or watching some replays.
Yeah, and actually, I just got back from Mexico, so I didn't really get much of a chance to watch the match. So I had to watch it really late at night as a recap. So I was able to obviously see all the goodness with 7 goals. That's pretty high for I guess against FC Cincinnati. I mean, there's been a few matches where we've had pretty high scoring games, but they never come out with a win usually. So they always ends up with a 3-3 tie. So it was good that we were able to pull out that last final goal. But really, I mean, starting lineup, it was weird seeing, Halsey in the lineup. I think we had some injury, or was it Yedlin, right? Yeah,
Yeah, Yedlin hadn't been fully healthy at the time, right?
right. So yeah, we had Halsey in, and Dotto. I think that was his second start. I mean, it's great he's seeing minutes. I think he's going to be, until we get that June summer signing. I think he's going to be our, off the bench, maybe even before Santos, kind of playmaker type thing when we need a little more juice from Lucho that we're not getting from him. So great to see him playing. Overall, I mean, it was back and forth all match. Just goals flying left and right. it was great to see our front three were finally starting. Like you could see the glimpses of what our front line should be doing, right? Our offense. So it was awesome to see, Kelsey, Dotto, Acosta, Orellano, they're all gelling up there and, seeing the tiki taka and all the quick passing that we're meant to see. Um, it was I think it was 2 goals from Orellano, a goal from Kelsey, which was great, and then the last goal from Santos as the sub. And really, I think it was both Orellano and Santos needed those goals. I think Santos probably would have fallen off the down the bench a little bit more if if he's not able to perform coming off the bench. I think he needs to at least be getting like an assist, here and there, let alone a goal, right? So I think that was critical of him scoring. But then, Orellano, you've been saying this all the time. I mean, he's got such a higher ceiling than Barreal ever had. You could obviously see it. I mean, you could see it in the Nashville game. It was great, awesome to see it in person. Just him weaving in and out of players. It's a whole nother thing, seeing on TV, but in person, it's unreal. But seeing him get those 2 goals was icing on the cake for that Toronto match.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All the points that you made about it. It's funny, like my perception on it now, after seeing like, yesterday's game against Nashville is like we just had, 4 goals in this game. And like you said, the offense started to just be able to kind of free flow and figure some things out. I mean, maybe we got lucky with some deflections here and there, off of Orellano's shot bouncing right to Kelsey, stuff like that. But I mean, like you're gonna take those half chances, half advantages if you can. And I think that we did well in that game with it. The last time we had played Toronto, it was 0-0, and then we go up there and you have two 19-year-olds that are starting up there, and you put on that performance. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I feel like this was the national spotlight for our Orellano, to be able to say like, look, this is what we've been seeing him start to do over the past several games. In this game, Zach, we get a switch from left wing back to right wing back for him, which we hadn't really seen this year, but had known at least that, he had been pushing for it. I think maybe in the game prior, he did a little bit of that, but not for a sustained amount of time. And in this Nashville game, from yesterday, Pat does the same thing. So that's something to look forward, I guess, in the next couple games. Do we continue with that? Is that, a trend that we're going to go to? Are we trying to just kind of pull at things a little bit differently? I honestly still think it's a figuring out of some things and finalizing what is our best spots for people. And it is nice that a lot of our guys have this versatility, and especially in this game where we don't have a Yuya Kubo, so
Yeah.
how can we have some of these guys play in different positions and be fruitful, and be impactful on the game, which is, I think, what had separated us in this run of 7 games or 7 wins in a row.
I think you hit on, there's 2 things I want to kind of hit on that. Just the versatility and just the experimental, um, I guess, works that Pat Noonan does, that you don't really think about while they're actually playing the game and winning the game. So it's
Right.
like maybe they obviously have some sort of training it like practicing and training, right, of those positions. But I mean, us seeing it real time, it's like, whoa, we've never seen this before, but hey, it worked out and it's wildly succeeding, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, point to like Yedlin last night playing at right center back. I mean, I know we'll get into that game here in a minute, but to your point, like he is willing to put these guys in those positions, but it's vice versa. It's the coach having the trust and the player having that, how do I want to say, confidence, maybe, just to say, hey, I'm an experienced player. I'm going to be able to slide in and kind of know what my role is in that spot. And obviously in this game, it didn't quite work out for us, but by the time that he put him at right center back, I mean, I didn't think he did bad. So in the positions that Pat's put these guys in, they've kind of made them succeed in a lot of ways. I think he's kind of hit the nail on the head for most of them, I would say.
Yeah, I think he's been. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I haven't seen really a position he's put a player in and they've not been able to succeed. So I think it sounds like Pat tries to put the players in a situation to succeed, and they always come out on top usually.
Yep, yep. And
Oh,
so,
boy.
like we said in this game, we get this 4-3 win. We're buzzing, from this. I think, the 7-game win streak was the best in club history. I mean, we were going for, second place overall in MLS history with 8. Obviously, we didn't get that, but I really felt like we got the most out of every roster position. Every single number that we had on the bench, pretty much. A lot of other people that were able to contribute, even if Lucho kind of has some off games. At least in the Toronto game, we see that. And then another thing that I just wanted to comment about the Toronto game was 4 times this year that we've scored twice in a 3-minute span. So it just shows you how it just takes one for us to kind of get things going. And I think that's a good tie over to let's transition now to the Nashville game on, if we had gotten one goal, how that would have just been a waterfall effect. So match day 16, playing at home again yesterday night. Zach, what were your thoughts, about this game?
I think overall it's fascinating to see when the team is down, and down over a sustained period of time where it's a full half where we're down, and it's like, what's Pat gonna do to talk to the players in the locker room, right? To have them come out and play better than what they were playing before. And it really showed, I think, in this Nashville game. I mean, I was looking at some of the stats and stuff, and first half we had 7 shots. I know shots aren't everything, but shots is a good indication of, are we making chances, right? Um, we had 7 shots in the first half and 14 in the second. So we did wildly better in the second half. While it probably didn't look like it, those first 20 minutes that you and I both called out, I mean, I think that's the best we've ever seen us play in ever in the first 20 minutes of this match. They were everything was just going exactly as planned, but we weren't hitting the ball in the goal, right? Like
So
I
I would say like, yeah, good or like the best we've seen, except for the finish, I guess is like a good way to
yeah,
put that.
exactly. Yeah. So I mean, it was fantastic movement, very strong and quick play. I guess what I was trying to get at. It was the fastest kind of play that we've seen from them, probably all season. Um, it was interesting to see, Haglund start in the back, this match. I think he started 2 matches ago, but, um, I don't think he had very many minutes. I think he came out in the 45th minute or in the second half or something like that.
He
But
actually played the last time we played at home, he played all 90, and it was the first time he had played all 90 minutes in like 150 something uh days, I believe actually.
oh, okay. Thank you
Prior
for
to that, the one prior to that I think was 45. I think is the one you were thinking of.
okay. So
But
it was the second game where he had a good chunk of minutes. So it really, I feel like it kind of showed the intensity and pressure he's under when he's down, or when the back line is down. You can really see the intensity that they're under. You could see a lot of the old Haglund hesitations, that we were used to seeing at like early MLS with him. So he's going to come back. I think he's over the next few matches, or hopefully by the time we're back from break, he'll snap out of it a bit. But really, I think Obi was a big call out. I think this match, he I think he's starting to get out of his injury funk that we've all seen, right? So I think having him, you know see him dominate the midfield like we always have seen. And you saw him a lot more playing on offense, making those runs to the corner that we were kind of like, whoa, Obi, you're getting out of position a bit, but he's making chances, which is kind of surprising. um but really, I mean, that's what all I saw really all the way up to the first goal. If you want to talk about that.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything that you said. Looking at like Hagelin coming into the starting 11, I was honestly a little surprised because Pat likes to go with consistency. I do think that Murphy has played a lot of minutes, so he's looking at that. He's also looking at the fact that maybe, Nick Hagelin's going to have to step up, in the next month or two with, having Miles Robinson out. And I think I tweeted that too, is just how are we going to have to rely on some of these backup center backs? So this was a good moment for him to kind of establish more of a rhythm, more time in the back there, and having Yedlin next to him and getting used to that again. Now, getting two guys that, maybe haven't played next to each other minutes together and sustained minutes, especially, with Yedlin coming off an injury, like, is there something to be said about that? I don't know, but usually you have Miazga covering or Robinson covering or communication. Hey, I'm going to cover this guy or cover out wide. But I did feel like, to your point, the first 20 minutes, like just were flying. We were coming at them. We were creating really, really good opportunities through. We had some really good balls that fell, one to Orellano that he hits, at the keeper, another one to Kelsey that he blasts, right at the guy. Maybe if he had another minute or second, I should say, to place it in the corner, that would have been nice. But you're right. I mean, you get I think you said 7 shots in the first half, and 2 or 3 of those are on target, and having the keeper make a save. So if that goes a different way, and it's easy for us to say now, but if we go up 1-0, we go up 2-0, like this is a completely different game just based on the run and how these chances can change a game in a soccer match. So, and especially like I had mentioned with the fact that we had been able to score in quick succession, so how does that one maybe create 2 or 3 in a short amount of time, especially for a Nashville team who Zach had never won a away match this year. They hadn't won any single away game. So put them down early and maybe they kind of roll over and die, and so those are the things that I kind of picked up on leading up to the goal. The goal comes in the 25th minute, off a corner. And I almost said something to you. I know we were sitting next to each other. I almost said something to you. And man, we really have to mark, on these corners. Because if I'm not mistaken, like the Toronto goal happens in a very similar time frame. 24th minute corner goal in the Toronto game, 25th minute goal in this game from corners. It's marking on corners that has just not been great. I don't have the stat, but I'm pretty sure it's 5 or 6 goals off of corners this year that we've given up, and probably a few others from set pieces too. But Mukhtar puts a ball into the box that I can only wish that some of our guys have been able to play from corner,
My
and
goodness.
gives the big guys an opportunity to go and win the ball.
Yeah.
And usually you see, Obi win it on the front post or Miazga in the middle, but you have Hagelin, you have Miazga, you have Robinson. All 3 of those guys are fantastic aerial dual guys. And no one, gets to Mayer, or maybe Mayer makes a really good play. I feel like he actually does pretty decent in getting his head on it, but it just has to be better defending from set pieces, from corners. That's got to be a focus going into the summer.
Yeah, I think really that first goal, it was kind of a genius play because I think really Zimmerman's their lead excuse me, header scorer, right? Like he's always getting on the score sheet with them off free kicks and corners, and you could tell that both Miles and Miazga were double marking him. It was
That's
clear.
true.
You could see at first Miazga was like kind of in the same vicinity as Mayer and Zimmerman, but Zimmerman shot up to the front post, and Mayer basically just stayed where he was
Right.
and pulled both of them, and then Nick had to shift over and cover. It just wasn't enough time to where Mayer got his head on the ball. But yeah, to your point, I mean, it was a great diving header, but we got to do better. I mean, that ball came in at like hip level, and not a single soul was there to block that.
It's just communication. And Another thing that I noticed on the Toronto goal was, there was, I don't believe anyone on the back post, that was marking the back post in that game. In this game, I can't remember if we had guys that were standing on the post. So again, for those wondering, sometimes in these corner situations on defense, you'll put a guy on the front post or the back post that can literally clear the ball off the line and isn't necessarily marking anyone, but just can clear it. I think this header is just tough to save for Roman because it comes through traffic and
Mhm.
it is at such a low, like you said, velocity or angle, I should say, that I don't think he expects it to come in when he does or through the traffic like that. So I was kind of shocked in some ways that it happened, but at the same time, like we had seen some pressure by Nashville on counters. We had some decent possession early on. We had been pressing pretty hard. Their whole goal of the game was kind of bunker in, beat us on the break, is
Mhm.
really what it was. Obviously, they get this goal on the corner, but the 29th minute, we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot, Zach. We try to come out of some of this attack by Nashville, and there's a ball played up to Dado. Dado plays a square ball to Obi, and it is just a hospital ball. I mean, it just leaves him high and dry and allows for Hani Mukhtar, their best player, to come right at, Miazga, who I think I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on this.
No.
I think he's flat footed, just because of he wasn't
Yeah.
expecting it. And I'm just going to say that because looking at the play, I mean, he just gets fooled by Mukhtar. Like he just
It's
goes right around him.
yeah.
But I just don't expect I don't think Matt expected him to turn that fast and to come right at him. Like he was more in the mindset of, oh, we have the ball. He's gonna get it to Obi, and all of a sudden they're coming right at him, and he's like, whoa, hold on a sec. So I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt on that. But he's coming right down at him, and then leads to kind of a progression in the ball into the box. Two of our center backs collapse, and Mukhtar's able to slide it out wide to Shackelberg. I think Roman can do better with this, Zach. I don't know what your thoughts are. Like maybe he was thinking he was going to go far post, but he tries to do a diving kick save and gets beat on the front post. So it's a not great look at that point, being down 0-2 at home to Nashville.
If this were baseball, I would give that play 3 errors. Like
It's true.
I feel like every
Yeah,
single one of those situations could have been. I mean, first, if you didn't have a bad Dado pass, the whole play would not even have happened. Obviously, Miazga, that is a fluke on his part, in my opinion. Like he never gets beat like that. Like rarely gets
right.
beat like that. So if he wasn't, like you said, flat-footed and just was a little bit more prepared, he would have been fine and would have broken that play up. And then, like you said, Roman, I don't think he came out enough. And I don't think he got big enough with how that angle and the closeness of that shot. I mean, it was just like the Orellano shot. I think it was almost the exact kind of same
Right.
angle and closeness. So yeah, I think Roman should have had at least a little bit more on it to where it could have, ricocheted out. But yeah, I mean, after that goal, I we were just kind of defeated because 5 minutes prior to that we just were like commenting like, wow, we feel like we're just so dead after those first 20 minutes. So it's like now it's like a marathon. It feels like they're just trying to get to the game at that point.
Well, and what's crazy is like, surely we can come back, because in the Toronto game, we go down at half, we're down a goal. So like we've been in the same position, but now it's 2 goals, so how can we pull one back before the half? And, at least credit to us, we didn't necessarily like roll over and die. Like we continue to kind of push in some ways. I just don't feel like the chances and the creation that we had was at the level that we needed in that moment. Clearly, clearly we don't get a goal, but it just needs to be quicker. I feel like the tired legs contributed to that. As we go into the second half, um, we were maybe talking about, do we get a sub? Right out of half. Do we bring in more attacking people? He goes with the same lineup in the second half. I think early on, shortly after the goals though, is when we switched Orellano on sides, I believe. Is that correct on that?
Yeah, I believe so.
And it was around that time because I believe it was right around when Yamil Assad comes into the game, and
Hmm.
they slide Yedlin to
Yeah.
right center back. So
Mhm.
it creates a little bit more of an offensive look for the team. But I really do think that tired legs contributed a lot. The team in Nashville, I should say, was also playing a very low block. They were playing in their own half. They were playing in their penalty box, and to be honest with you, we haven't been a great team at breaking teams down in general, but on tired legs too, and trying to find the space to break teams down, to find these opportunities to ping it around quickly. That's how you break the lines. That's how you are able to score and beat that. And they were content just kind of sitting back and saying, we have a 2-goal lead on the road. Like, come and break us down, And I really think that was the difference in the halftime speeches was, I wish we would have said, you have to play quick. Right now, I know you're tired. If you're tired, let the ball do the work. Don't dribble so much and wear yourself out, but let the ball do the speed and break that team down, especially in that low block where on Nashville's side, coming out of it and going up two is like, we're sitting pretty comfortable and this is the way that we like to play. We like to counter with Mukhtar. We like to counter with maybe one other striker, but we're content because we're up 2 goals. And that's sometimes hard to beat, especially with Jack Mayer in the back, Walker Zimmerman. I mean, those are fairly experienced center backs. Those guys, I mean, I'm pretty sure Zach Zimmerman comes off at one point. Shaq
Hmm.
Moore comes off for them as well, one of their experienced right backs. And I mean, I turn to you and I say, this is the time that we gotta, take advantage of this.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's a good point. You make a lot of good points, but like I want to say just the I think you said it. I don't remember when you said it, but basically they're putting in the work, but they're not seeing it through. Like
Yeah.
they're they want they know what they want, but they can't get to what they want. Um, I can't remember how the phrasing you said it, but it was you said it a lot better than I could.
I
But
said it last night. Something I said last night.
yeah,
Okay. I
yeah,
think it
exactly.
was like maybe expending energy in times where like we shouldn't have, or something along those lines, maybe. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, but at any rate, it was really showed when uh, your best playmaker, or making a sub to like make a um, impact on the game is Sergio Santos and Yamil Assad. So it's critical, in my opinion, we get Kubo back as soon as possible, and then get that that new striker that we're so hopefully waiting for. But it's tough when you have both Santos and Assad coming on, and yeah, while Assad's got had some has some good experience, I think you said playing the 10. He's more of a midfielder, and Sergio, I mean, he's been able to get us some goals here and there coming on, but it's just not the playmaking, quick play that they're accustomed to. They're very. I feel like Assad's more of the just pass it in, right? It seemed like he's a very much a crosser than he is a um, feeding off the ball and whatnot. But
well, and he's supposed to understand where Lucho's at. I mean, having played together before and having that chemistry, how can we rely on that in those crucial moments? I do actually feel like in some ways, I remember one play specifically where, Lucho gets down into the box a couple different times in the second half and plays it into the box. Is it a hesitation that allows the defense to come back?
oh yeah,
That's one comment, I would say. Another one would be, another ball that we whip in to Kelsey, who touches it to Santos for a strike. I mean, we did get opportunities, we did create. It's just being able to finish in those moments. And it's almost like the beginning of the season in some ways. The only difference is like we've been able to play together. We understand where each other are a little bit more, but there was some little bit of flashbacks to the beginning of the year in this game of we look good in moments. We're not sustainably good though throughout the whole game, or we lack concentration in key moments and they break us down, or we lack communication and they get the 2 goals. Like that's the difference in the game. But early on, we didn't finish those chances, and that's why it was 0-0. That's why it was, 0-1 and us losing, or in Montreal. But in this game, like I think we ended with 21 shots, Zach. So it's not like we didn't create. It's just being able to put that in. And soccer is such a funny game of like we could have 21 shots and have 5 goals. We could have 21 shots and have no goals.
Yeah.
And a shot is such a broad thing. Shots on goal like actually shows you like, okay, you actually were on target with it. And I think we had a decent amount of those too, but it's being able to finish in these moments. And that is the next step forward, which I think in this game is just a long sustained run of games, playing away, playing at home, playing guys in different positions, playing on tired legs, all of that contributed in this game. I'm not making any, how do I want to say like excuses, I mean, we still have to come out and play, especially at home. And that's going to
Yeah.
be something I touch on later. But um, yeah, ultimately it's one game. So 10-3 now. Zach, in this night, Miami also loses in their game. So, I mean,
Huge.
technically, we're second in the supporter shield right now in the race, but we still have a game in hand. And by the weekend, Miami plays again, I believe, and we don't play. So we could have 2 games in hand. And if they don't get a result on Saturday, like we could actually be sitting fairly pretty. So, all in all, I mean, we don't have to go and rewrite everything or, say scratch the lineup like we were thinking earlier on in the year. Like we've had some great moments. We've had some really good games, like I said, in Toronto and scoring goals. This is a one-off game. It's a trap game, is what I'm
Yep.
definitely thinking about this game. But before we go to a break here, I wanted to give you a trivia question just based on this Toronto game. It was kind of interesting. When is the last time that FC Cincinnati had 4 goals in a single half, Zach?
I want to say with for some reason a Montreal game's coming to mind, and I want to say it was like 2022.
Okay, so
Yes.
Montreal game in 2022.
Is that enough to
Yeah,
go off?
no, that's perfect.
Okay.
So stay tuned to the end of the episode and we'll give you the answer. We'll be right back. Hey, FC Cincinnati fans, we are pumped to share our new sponsor, Peak Cocktails.
I'm sipping on the passion fruit margarita, which is so spicy and it makes me feel like I'm on the beach.
Ooh, that sounds great. I'm drinking the Blood Orange Spritz, which has a great subtle ginger flavor coming from its scientifically formulated recipe to promote exercise recovery, enhance relaxation, and support a better night's sleep.
Ryan, that's exactly why I love them. Their cocktails are designed to fit seamlessly into your health conscious lifestyle, giving you the enjoyment of a delicious adult drink without the downsides of alcohol.
Guys, next time you are looking for that post workout drink or an afternoon pick me up, grab a Peak Cocktail. Visit them at www.peakcocktails.com and use the code FLYINLION at checkout to get 20% off your first order. Zach, enjoy your drink. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in this week. I know it's been a kind of up and down week. Coming off of the game in Toronto, I was pretty pumped, ready to go for Nashville. Obviously, we didn't get the result we wanted, but still have a lot of season ahead of us, Zach. That's really the biggest thing that I had coming out of this game. Look at the run that we had in the last 7 games prior to this. Compared to the beginning of the season, there's a lot to look forward to, a lot of growth that can still happen. And I think I'm really excited to see what we can sustain consistently. Because, I mean, we've shown if we can get 7 wins in a row, like that's essentially like getting hot and, making the final of Leagues Cup, or, really getting it together through the summer and then figuring out by the fall and like getting really, really good wins against good opponents. So in these moments or in these games where now we're down 2-0, it teaches us something. How can we try to come back from it? What ways can we try to break down, the low block? There's a lot of takeaways from it. I don't know if you thought that way or not, but
Leagues Cup doesn't matter, Ryan. Remember, it's only an MLS
that's
Cup.
true. That's
Nothing
true.
else matters but MLS Cup.
That's valid. Yeah, I'm still under
No,
that mindset, and it's really funny to me that the club is putting out, these emails about these 3 or 4 game packages, including the Leagues Cup game, because I'm pretty sure a ton of people opted out of this Leagues Cup. We obviously get one of these matches, but I believe the NYCFC game is not covered, and there's just no incentives otherwise, to doing this competition other than maybe a CONCACAF Champions Cup, I guess I should say, an appearance in that if you win. But there's a lot of other ways to get that bid to that tournament.
yeah, no, I was just being facetious. I was just saying, supporter shield is the best because we've won it, right? So
That's
no,
right.
but to your point, I mean, we're halfway through the season now, and in 7 games, that's almost half the, first half of the season. So we won pretty much half the games that we played. Um,
Over half. I
I
mean,
mean,
like,
over half, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So I'm in a streak. Sorry,
Yeah, you're
in one
good.
like go, and it's crazy to think about um like we could do that again in the second half of the season, and just go on hot streaks, but we don't want to have our hot streak too early, or else.
See, and that's the thing that is interesting is like we go on a 7 game win streak similar to like last year in a very similar time frame. So, I just don't want to see us cool off through the summer and then, by the end of the year we really picked it up and we were able to kind of sustain some things. But to your point is like getting hot at the right time, especially in the MLS, is a big deal. It's really going to come down to, in my opinion, what is the club prioritizing? And we've really seen the lineups consistently. Like, it would have been really easy for Pat Noonan to say, we've won 7 in a row. We're back at home. We're in, a less hostile situation. Um, let's rest some guys, let's put in some younger guys. But his mentality has always been win first, no matter what the situation. And winning as much as you can is his go-to. And I love that. And I love the fact that the guys are all willing to play too. That's a big thing that unfortunately is out there in the league, and some guys that don't want to play or say, hey, it's an away game in Vancouver. I don't think I'm going to make the trip for that, Miami. But yeah, I mean, for our guys to say we're going to show up, we're going to try to win every single game. I love that mentality. I just don't want to get burnt out through the middle of the season.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, and to your point, hot streaks matter in MLS, which I hate saying, but
It
it
does.
is what.
It's wacky. That's the MLS. But speaking of wacky things, Zach, what was your card of the week?
You know, I'm always on X, formerly Twitter, and I always see these little GIFs and little like videos of replays and stuff of like just through MLS, English Premier League, and nothing makes me more mad than seeing a player take a PK, and they say that they don't they you have to keep moving forward, but some of these stutters, man, it
It's
just makes me so mad.
getting
Like
bad.
I think it's getting to the point of like NBA traveling. Like we need to like cool it with the stutter step and hesitation. In my opinion, I think it's gone way over the top, and it's made, I feel like, soccer football look bad, in my opinion.
If you're going to allow the stutter step, hear me out. Do you
Okay,
allow the goalkeeper to come off the line then?
absolutely. I
So
don't think I
again,
don't
for
think should
PKs,
have
the keeper has to stay on the end line until the ball's kicked. If there's a hesitation, like is a trade-off that the keeper can jump out, off the line.
I think that's a very fair, in my opinion. I mean,
We can solve all of this. You ready for it? One-on-one PKs,
oh yeah,
similar to the early MLS style from half field. You dribble all the way from the center circle. You take the keeper on one. Everyone wants that.
Everybody would love to see that. That's the best way to see it, in my opinion.
That would be unreal. I love that shout though. I mean, yeah, the PKs have just been kind of ridiculous, with the stutters and unfortunately, we really haven't had a ton of PKs this year. I think
I
we've
don't
only really
know.
had like one in the MLS,
Yeah.
which is kind of wild to think about because we used to have a ton, but that's a good one. I'm going to shout out Sam had a card that he wanted to throw in here, which I agree with him is a finder's fee on big name for European players. So kind of what he's getting at is Marco Royce, is looking to come to the MLS, but his discovery rights are with Charlotte. Marco Royce doesn't want to necessarily go to Charlotte. He maybe wants to go to LA or something, but these teams have to essentially pay for this discovery right of the player to be able to bring them into their roster. Nobody really knows who has the discovery rights. Like, I think maybe you could go and find it, but it seems like it's pretty hard or pretty difficult to go and figure this out. It's like, well, who has the right to Ronaldo? Who has the right to Lukaku.
It's a very good point. Is it just like some made up, like, you go to some made up place and hey, here's you can have this player, or
But
like
ask any FCC fan, like in the past 2 years since Albright's taken over, it feels like we have everybody's discovery rights because teams are, giving us cash for every single player. And I credit Albright for knowing the system and saying, oh yeah, we had the discovery rights for this guy, oh yeah, we knew about this guy too. And we've been able to benefit, I think, from that.
what's like Charlotte didn't even exist before Marco
It's
Royce was
true.
even like huge, right? Like he's been around forever. And what makes Charlotte able to have him? I don't know. Makes no
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, I don't know if we see that rule, if that's a sustainable thing, especially with getting bigger players, into the league, um, as we start to grow the league and really bring in players in their prime. A Marco Royce, at 26 or 27, like it kind of limits where those guys can go. And do we miss out on a player, at FC Cincinnati because of that? I don't know. I hope that's not the case. And I think our ownership is very willing to spend if we're going to get those rights. But it is a fascinating thought and crazy that this league has that. I've never heard of that for any other league. I don't know if you have or not.
No, MLS is the only league that has the silliest roster
Yep.
regulations.
Yeah. So, Zach, my card of the week in this Toronto game first was I don't know if everyone else listening had heard this too, but their coach, John Herdman, was yelling press like every 2 seconds of this game and yelling, hey, hey. And Apple TV has just done a great job this year at having the microphones, on the field or in front of the supporter sections. But I don't need to hear this guy yell, hey, 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 and press, every 2 seconds of the game. Like, can we just get the mics in front of the supporters can or, the supporter sections instead of the coach? I was kind of ticked by that because I was like, I would love to hear Miazga talking. That would be kind of who I would want the mic to be on.
Get
Uh,
some mic'd up moments.
let's do some mic'd up Miazga. Like, that would
Yeah.
be
Hear that
fantastic for the league.
that banter. Oh
Can you
my.
imagine? Like, let's open the similar. I think the NFL does it, where they have a player that wears the mic during the game. Let's open it up to the MLS and let's allow Matt Miazga to be the first one. I don't know if that would be allowed for certain audiences.
No, yeah, I don't think so either. And his aggressive play, it might hurt himself more than anything.
That's true. That's true. My second part of my card was our home form, unfortunately. It was such a fortress last year at TQL. Let's return to just being unstoppable at home. We're 6-1-1 on the road, but at home it's like I don't know what happens. Do we just get comfortable or maybe it's just been flukes, lost to Red Bulls, lost to Monterrey, two ties, lost to Nashville. It's like all right, it's time to just say this is the place that we need to win. And I'm glad that we're at least winning on the road, but sustainability and like if we're gonna have playoff home games, like we got to be able to win.
Is it just coincidence, or are we just Like what usually, like, I mean, we've had so many sellouts. We had a sellout last night,
Hmm.
on a Wednesday match. Like that's pretty unreal to honestly have in MLS. And, the team didn't show up to finish their chances. And
I'm
it,
not gonna call out a certain situation in the game, or I should say I wasn't going to call it out, but I'm gonna call it out because you made this comment. You said, I do not like the Roman Celentano red keeper jersey. Do you think that had anything to do with it?
I think that was it. Usually I'm not one to be superstitious, but, he didn't look good in it. So I guess it was something.
Dude was rocking the Cincinnati jacket before the game. Everyone go and check out Roman's fit before the game last night. It was pretty cool. But yeah, I thought it was funny that you commented on the jersey, and I was like, you know what? I don't think I've seen Roman in red, but let's never go back to that because that was not a good result. Zach, on the flip side, what was your jersey swap of the week?
Yeah, my jersey swap was Kevin Kelsey this week. I think it really shows when he's not in the game. I mean, I think he's the one really bouncing, like he's even more than Dotto, honestly. It seems like he's coming up forward to try to get the ball. Um, I mean, obviously they're all cohesive and dynamic when they need to be, but Kelsey, he's fast. You could see the freaking thickness of his thighs. Like the dude is a monster and he will body anybody. So it's great to have someone that I think you and I had mentioned. He definitely seems to have a higher ceiling than Vasquez. And really, I think we were saying, I think he's honestly at this point in time better than Vasquez. Than when Vasquez was here in his prime. So um,
That's a bold take there.
it is, and I'm gonna stick to it because I really do think Kelsey has a good home here, and hopefully, I mean, 7 million's a lot, but if we have to trigger it, I'm all for it.
I don't disagree. I think that, the last couple games I've really been more convinced that he puts in the work, he presses very fast. He closes down the ball quicker than I think people give him credit for. And then his touch is actually pretty phenomenal
Well,
for a striker.
not sorry, something you said. He'll put his body on the line too. I mean, you
True.
saw like two times last night. I think it was a header, I think, that actually caused a Nashville guy to go down. He went hard in for the header and, he tried to get anything on the ball. And then that weird, I don't know, tackle thing at the top of the box that we don't even know what that call was. And they called it for us. He was in on the play and he did what it took to, get the free kick.
My favorite Kelsey moment actually was last night. They play the ball to him. He holds up a defender and another guy comes over to close on him. He holds off both defenders, gets basically his jersey almost torn off his body. The ref like doesn't even throw his hands up for a foul or anything. I think finally he says like, play on. Kelsey turns both the players, as he's like basically getting up from almost falling down, and then turns on the two guys and runs about 40 yards down close to the 18 and sprays a ball out wide and then gets back into the box to go for a header. And you're like, oh my God, that was unbelievable hold up play, number one. Number two,
Yeah.
to be able to like turn on them in at speed, like run like that, that's insane. Like I think he's done, for 19 years old, a very, very good job at fitting in. And to kind of be able to gel with Lucho and to understand maybe, how he wants to play, where he wants to play. Um, I would love to see more sustained play from him. I feel like we get runs of really good
Right.
Kelsey plays, but other times, and I don't think that's even, a diss to him, but how can we find him better? How can we from out wide, play balls into the box where we would see Vasquez win those headers. Obviously has two header goals that are wide open on the back post, but in congestion or, where he's got two center backs and he's between them and we play that ball in and he can win it. I would love to see more sustained build up through him instead of, whipping it down the channels, which I mean we've done a really good job at, but I think his connection and playing through him is going to be the key, especially if teams are going to start to press us as well.
Hmm. Spot on.
Yeah. So I actually had Orellano as my jersey swap again. I think I had him last week as well, but um, I credit him. Honestly, I highlighted him last week, but being able to score 2 goals, get an assist, be the player of the match day in the MLS is something that in his first, 14, 16 games of this year, and he's already one of the best left wing backs, in the league. It took Barrial a full year and a half to get to that point. And we're already saying like, Orellano's showing really good potential. You mentioned early on, is he better than Barrial? It's like I haven't had the large enough sample size to see it, but the potential is there. The heart's there. I think they both echo each other in that. I would love to see his free kicks be a little bit better like Barrial's. That's the next level for him. But to be able to go and play on both wings is just so dangerous, and being able to cut in onto his left or on the right, being able to hook up with Lucho and get down the line and serve balls in. He's been really impressive this year and honestly is probably the most dangerous player, one on one where we can just dribble out of these situations or like last night down the line, flicks the ball over the guy and runs around him.
Oh yeah.
Unbelievable, like soccer mind. Him and Lucho, I think, are just like class when it comes to just being able to get around defenders.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there was so many like genius spurts of play that he had where I mean there was the one in particular where I think he dribbled like five people like just zigzagging all the way through the 18 and then I think he just got stuffed and couldn't like go anywhere. That's what it seems like we always happens with both Lucho and our dribblers, right? They get to that point and then they can't do anything with it. But this is praising Orellano. I mean, like you said, I think, like you said, with he's had 16, 17 games, and he's already looking better than Barreal. I think Orellano's quicker and has a bit more stamina than Barreal, so I think that's why he's probably able to get up the field more. So I think you made a comment like he doesn't come back as much as Barreal, but I think he's in the offense more if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was highlighting last night was I think we have benefited from some experienced center backs that are able to cover for him and allow for him to stay up higher. The stamina part, I'm gonna push back on a little bit because they've subbed him out at like the 75th minute in like several games now. Now, I don't know if that's because he's gassed or if they just want to get a different look out of that position, in that time. But like last night, they took him out around that time, and I'm like, the dude's been consistently good at running at people. I think maybe they're saying, let's not, get this guy injured. He's played a lot of minutes. Let's kind of balance that a little bit. Maybe that's kind of what they were going with.
Yeah, or just like give us a hard 75, like push
True.
yourself as hard as you can.
Yeah.
They're relying on him to get some goals. Then I could see that. Yeah, to your point.
Yeah, put it in everything you got for 75, 80 minutes. And I think to his credit though, like being able to gel and adapt to whatever he's thrown into has just been phenomenal. Um, how can we maybe see him impact the wings, on the right or the left moving forward, like I mentioned earlier, is that sustainable on the right side though? Because we do have Yedlin there. So do we really go to that? We talked about it on the way out last night. Do we put Yedlin back in the middle when Robinson's out and we use Orellano outright? I don't know.
I mean that we could lead that into the next conversation. I mean, our with the summer coming up, the international break, Copa America, you know, how do we line up our team for the next like 6 games? I think it is. And that is if the USA continues as far as they do.
Right.
Um, that's a big talking point that you and I think Sam we've all been contemplating the past few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, if you're if you're really into this team, you know that, Copa America, this big tournament is coming and the Olympics are coming, and like I mentioned in the last podcast, like we're going to be losing some guys. So the speculation has already begun about strikers. And I think since last episode, there's been a lot of talk about, is Bupenza leaving? It seems like from everything that I have been hearing and the club has been wanting to at least kind of move on. We'll see. I don't know. We can't write it off completely, but does that leave a huge spot at the DP striker spot, to pair up with Kelsey? I think that's very interesting. And there's some big names. Andrew Wiebe had shouted out, from if you were in the room, with FC Cincinnati and Pat Noonan, Albright, Birding, like you could see this club's ambition is kind of how it was discussed. So are we gonna get a Mario Icardi? Is it a Griezmann? Is it a Lukaku, Zach? Like, what's your opinion on some of these big name rumors?
It's kind of jaw dropping in my opinion. But both I we feel like it's the longest shot, but having Griezmann in Cincinnati would be just insane. We both, like you said, would buy a kit immediately. I mean, any of those three, I would probably buy the kit with his name on it. Um, I think they also have to fit in with our play style. I think that's the biggest. Like Albright's not going to get, Lukaku. I mean, he's the big guy, right? Like he's going to be a hold up kind of player. I don't think having those Kelsey and him side by side's the right route, in my opinion. But is it an amazing signing? Yeah, but I think we really need to, look at it from that instance too. Is who's the big name that would fit in with our play style, and I think we all know that it's going to be the free roamer, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. And because Kelsey's proving himself as that big physical threat. To your point, I mean, that's a great point with Lukaku. I didn't even think about that. Is you pair those two together. I mean, obviously they're brute forces up top. Like that's hard for any defense
Spots.
to match up. But I feel like you need a little bit of speed. You need a little bit more quality on the ball. Um, and Griezmann is kind of that. He's a forward, maybe a 10. He can play in different positions up top. Um, his class though is just unbelievable, being able to play in all those different positions. Mario Icardi, is just a goal scorer. This guy plays in Turkey for Galatasaray. He's been the player of the year in the Turkish league for the last two seasons. This past year, 25 goals and 9 assists, I think is what it was. So unbelievable names just to be able to be linked with, for this team. Um, if it comes to that situation, I mean, it takes us to that next level. It says we're here to win every trophy, and um, how can these guys impact the games in moments like against Nashville when we're really looking for a goal? Um, no slack to Santos, he had, like Zach mentioned, given us some good goals lately, but you bring a Griezmann off the bench, in some situations, obviously you want to start him, but let's
Oh
say
yeah,
originally, you have him available to come in and give you 20 minutes, even if he's not able to give you 45 or 90, right? That's a quality sub. That's somebody that can come in and just dominate. And it
yeah,
just takes you to that next level. Something that, like, Lucho will put you in that position and these guys will finish it.
yeah.
They are going to put it away.
They get a
Um,
foot on the ball, it's going in the back of the net.
Absolutely. So that's the next level of this team, in my opinion. The stretch through the summer will really show us our depth, and how can we kind of work through. It sounds like the only player we're really going to be missing is Miles Robinson, unless obviously, Bupenza, the situation's up in the air. Hopefully Kubo and Corey Baird will be back. So that'll give us a little bit more depth up top, at least in the meantime. But this transfer window, I don't pretty sure it opens up in middle of July. So we're going to
Yep.
have a sustained stretch of about 7 games where we're really going to see, how the back line's tested. I'm not feeling great about that thought right now, coming off of giving up of 5 goals in the last 2 games. But
Yeah.
that's not been, the run of form over the whole year. I mean, historically, through 16 games, it's been very good. And you have 2 games that are kind of outliers of that.
Yeah, no, I think you make a great point. I think it. It's going to be interesting. I mean, we're hearing about this signing. July is when it opens, and I think it closes September, maybe early September.
Hmm.
Um, we can't obviously wait that long to sign a new striker, right? Like we're FC Cincinnati's, they always seem like they never start their signings, early. So it's nice that we're actually hearing about it before the window even started. So I'm hoping that, all things considered, like you said, if we're missing Miles, getting that striker immediately opens up a lot more opportunity for depth other places, right? Like we don't have to try to use someone in their not original place or position, right? So I think having Kip, Hagland, um, and my goodness, what is Yedlin?
Yeah, no,
Uh,
you're right.
Having those as like depth pieces on the back line, I think will, while it's comfortable, there's still, it's a risk. It would be the biggest risk on the field.
Yeah, I think it almost, I'm not going to say it is completely the same situation as last year, but when Miazga was out in the playoffs and you just have Mascara, or throughout the summer, when you're without Matt Miazga, like the team was really tested and they were able to show we were able to put Powell at, center back, or
Hear that?
um, putting Yedlin there, as we did in the last game. Like guys are going to have to fill in and be able to contribute. And it really comes down to communication, understanding where each other are in those moments, and hopefully from these last several games just learning. That's the biggest thing, is how can we just improve in the style that we want to play. So I'm really excited. Like we mentioned before, we have a whole second half of the season to come with a lot of great opportunities, possibly a new designated player as a striker. um, there's a lot to be excited about. We're still in second, possibly first, whichever way you want to look at it, by points per game. So it's going to be exciting. I'm excited for it, Zach. And I'm excited to give you this trivia question and answer. You ready?
Heck yeah. Let's hear it.
All right. So the question again was, when is the last time that FC Cincinnati had 4 goals in a single half for a game? And Zach locked in Montreal's game, and I believe you said was 2022. Is that correct?
I did, yes.
So the answer actually was 2022, but it
Mm.
was against DC United on decision day.
Oh my goodness. Yes, you're right. That we obliterated them.
We had a 5-2 win,
Whew.
and we got a second half hat trick from Brenner and a goal from Yuya Kubo as well.
I
So,
should have known that. Man.
yep, that was the last time. Last year, this team did not have a single game with 4 goals.
Scored for or against?
For us. Like we did not
Oh, okay.
score 4 goals last year in any game. And I'm talking even, for this trivia question, was just in this single half. So we scored that 4 goals against Toronto, and that was just so impressive, so out of what we typically have been used to in the last year and a half. I just found that interesting.
That's a great trivia question.
So, Zach, closing up here, we have again about a 16-day break. Our next game is going to be against San Jose. We'll give you guys a preview of that game when it gets closer. We have some exciting people coming in, for this break. So stay tuned for that. Thanks again, everyone, for supporting us for this one year. We're looking forward to another year, hopefully some more trophies. Zach, thanks for joining me tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks. It was a pleasure.
We'll see you guys next week.